Kyle is a blessing. I was talking with him before the Sunday school this morning, and God has gifted him with talent, and his desire is to use that talent to the glory of God. And so I'm going to turn it over to you, Kyle, and the Lord bless you good, brother. It's good to see this. Dan, darling, God bless.
Well, thank you all for having me, and I want to thank you too just for your faithfulness in this church. You know, I came here when I was little. In the 5th grade, I think, was my last class at East Knox, I'm pretty sure. But, you know, I just, more than the preaching, nothing against the preaching, but it was great, but I was little, so I didn't understand. But the community, it was just it laid such a good foundation for me, what living and loving like Christ looked like in the community that the church is supposed to have. You know, everybody knows that look you get from your parents when you're in trouble. But when you know the look of 4 or 5 different sets of parents, you know that's just that sense of community in discipline. It's been such a blessing. I mean, I remember the swing set seems a little shorter and the sanctuary seems a little smaller. But I just remember this is the church where I came to Christ. I remember just feeling the weight of my sin in those seats and crying and coming down this aisle and praying with you. And going from there. And I want to talk, I'm going to bounce all over the place because that's just kind of how I am. But, you know, a lot of times when we come to Christ, we think, oh, this is great because we feel such a good feeling at coming to Christ, and we just think, oh, it's going to be great from here on out. But that's not how it is. You know, we go, and I went on from here, and just to share a little bit about my story, like I said, I moved around middle school age, and I like to say I was a little chunky kid, but I like to say when I was here, I was fat and happy because everyone, you know, I knew everybody, I wasn't worried about it, but all of a sudden I had to make the transition in middle school. It's a tough time too, and just trying to make friends, and all of a sudden I became really insecure and just, you know, had trouble fitting in, all that, and so then I was like, oh, I'm just going to try to go back to God and the feeling I know. But there's a difference between pursuing God with a genuineness and going to God for His gifts. And a lot of times we pass over idolatry as a sin because we just see a golden calf and we're like, well, I don't have a golden calf in my closet, so I'm not an idolater. But going to God just for what He can do for you is a form of idolatry. We need to go to God for who He is. So I went to God for His gifts, and I said, Lord, if you just help me grow a little taller and get a little bit more in shape, and so I can just fit in and play football and all this stuff. And I was plugged in church and doing all that, and then I sprouted up, and I became athletic, and I was like, oh, this is great. And I just kind of pushed God to the side, thinking like, yeah, we're good now, so I can just go do my thing. And then I was playing football, and you know, got letters here and there just from small D2 schools. But then I hurt my back, and I had to get surgery, and they said no more football for you. And you know, I was just really mad at God. I thought, God, we had a deal going on here. What happened with that? You know, I was a pretty good kid. You know, went to church on Sunday and sang, and then, you know, went to eat after. That's why I went mainly for the dinners after, the lunches after. But so what happened here? And I just got mad at God and said, you know what? If you aren't going to do this for me, I'm going to do this for me. Because I had put my identity so far in athletics and in football and being that as soon as that was ripped away from me, I had to get it back, or else I didn't feel like myself. So that's what I did, and not, you know, I prayed to God for good luck, but I really wasn't founding it in Him. I was just trying to do it for me. So I ended up going on and trying out for the team down at West Virginia. Go Mountaineers! And I know you got Buckeye country, but go Mountaineers. You know, it's all right. We're different conferences. It doesn't matter. And I got on the team, and I thought that was going to make me so happy, and it made me happy for about the 20 minutes that it took to call everybody and tell them I made it on the team. And there was just still something in me that wasn't full. And that was that whole coming back to Christ. You know, at the moment that we give our lives to Him, there's going to be ups and downs. And just always keeping that perspective and keeping Him at the center of our lives. You know, we aren't promised an easy life. And you say, well, Romans 8:28 says, but all things work together for good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. But the key in that is his purpose. And we don't always know what his purpose is. You look at the life of Job, you look at the life of Paul, the life of Jesus. He died on a cross. They all suffered, but they suffered for the glory of God. And so it did all work for good because they have an eternal treasure and they're with him. So this first song, I'm going to bounce back and forth between some stories and some songs just because I don't feel confident enough to talk the whole time. So, but this song is about just when you give your life to Christ, there's still going to be some struggles, but we're confident through that because we know that he's beside us, strengthening us through those struggles. Whoa. 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 Your stone rolled away, but there's still storms rolling in. My whole life has changed, but still I struggle with sin. The enemy's weak, but my flesh feels so much weaker. If I'm gonna make it through this, Jesus, I'm gonna need you. In the thunder and lightning, in the worst of the fighting, you keep reminding me, oh Lord, you're my defender. When I want to surrender, when I think it's the end, you are winning my wars. In the thunder and lightning, oh, in the thunder and lightning, whoa, in the thunder and lightning. I know you're for me, no matter what I'm against. You go before me, no evil stands half a chance. The ruler of the kingdom of the air is there ready to fight. I would crumble on my own, but I know that you're right by my side. In the thunder and lightning, in the worst of the fighting, you keep reminding me, oh Lord, you're my defender. When I want to surrender, when I think it's the end, you are winning my war. In the thunder and lightning, in the thunder and lightning, whoa, in the thunder and lightning. When my faith is shaking and I can't see a way, I know there is strength in every word that you say. In the thunder and lightning, in the worst of the fighting, you keep reminding me, oh Lord, you're my defender. When I want to surrender, when I think it's the end, you are winning my wars. In the thunder and lightning, oh, in the thunder and lightning, whoa, in the thunder and lightning, oh, whoa. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So how can we trust that he's going to be there for us through the thunder and lightning, through the trials we go to? Well, there's no better evidence of his faithfulness, of the faithfulness that we talked about and how great is thy faith, we sang about it. There's no greater evidence than his son, bringing him onto earth and dying on the cross. And even as he hung there for our sins, he could have brought himself down at any time, but he didn't, because he's faithful and because he's there for us. And it's hard to think about sometimes. that our sins put him there, that my sin put Jesus on the cross. And that truth hurts, but it's the cross saves us. And I just love this passage in Isaiah 53. And talks about the coming Messiah, which by itself, the fact that these words written 500 years or however long before Jesus came are so specific, it just bears evidence of the truth of the Messiah. But it says in verse 2 of 53, it says, "For he grew up before him like a young plant and like a root out of dry ground. He had no form or majesty that we should look at him, and no beauty that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And as one from whom men hide their faces, he was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken and smitten by God and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities, and upon him was the punishment that brought us peace. By his wounds we are healed." That's such it's a painful and glorious truth that Christ had to suffer for us, but that we are healed by it. I betrayed the King. I deserved the sting of every lash that hit the Son. When I turned from the Father and all he offered, he still chose the nails that should have run through my hands, through my feet. Those thorns were meant for me. Yeah, the truth hurts, but I hold on to the faith that you call me yours, and you cover me in grace. There's no good in me without you. I was lost until I found you. Now I'll never be the same. Yeah, the truth hurts, but the cross saves.